Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from Saturday Down South, Ethan Stone. Ethan, good evening. How are you?
I am doing very well today. It's been a bit of a lazy day for me. I'm just watching NBA trades happen. I'm cleaning around the house and doing a lot of other stuff to prepare for talking some ball with you guys.
You big cleaner? Like, are you a clean freak, or are you? Yeah. How does that work for you?
When I get bored and I have nothing else to do, I clean stuff.
Okay.
I like to clean,
there you go.
Get stuff
Love
done.
to see it.
I'm often alone in the house, so I just kind of, got to make it look better. Got to make it homey. I mean, there's nothing else to do other than just sit and think about myself in space, I guess.
Wow, that had a great
existential. What else is there to do? I mean, what else?
We didn't hit 60 seconds before the podcast got existential.
Yeah, like just really, that was an amazing sentence. Like, Ethan started one place and it did not end at all where I thought it was good. People are like, you'll never guess where this sentence started about like how much he enjoyed cleaning for his wife, just being a capital good G husband. Like, anyway, why are we here? Rocky Top Insiders Ryan Schumpert also here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, a little.
Why are we here?
Why are we here? Who are you?
A little less deep. I have a smorgasbord of drinks currently on the desk right now. Got a Dr. Pepper.
I
got the one water bottle that has water in it.
I
have the second water bottle because I golfed this morning and I had to get the big Yeti for golf because it's hot outside. And I just set it back on my desk. And then I have like a 2/3 drink cup of coffee from this morning before I golf. So I got quite.
Are you still drinking that coffee?
No.
Okay,
there is
coffee. At least
there is coffee still in it. I'm not drinking it. It is not going to be consumed.
Can you promise me that? Because like that combination of Dr. Pepper coffee from this morning and 2 water bottles, that's a lot,
awesome.
man.
There's been like, and I guess this probably says that I'm not a big cleaning person like Ethan. And there's been like 3 or 4 times today where I was like, yeah, no, well, next time I get up and go in and pouring that cup of coffee out and putting the cup in the dishwasher, and it just hasn't happened. Which is a lot to ask of me.
I mean, Ethan's got what? I think I just saw some Barks Root Beer Heavy over there.
Barks Root Beer. No. Switching it up. No, I don't know. No Pepsi for me today. No Dr. Pepper for me today. We're going straight root beer.
There you go. Well, maybe that's where the existential talk comes from.
That's where
the guy switches over to Barks Root Beer, and then things get all a little bit grainy up in the air. Got to do some soul searching there.
Yeah, that's it.
Goodness gracious. What a time. Well, as much as I would like to talk about those 1.5-minute video still images and practice report from Clarence Masamba, the freshman sensation for Tennessee that Ryan posted on his Twitter timeline that I hope folks go check out, as my summer take of Clarence Masamba being the long-term starter at the 2 for Tennessee and getting the most amount of starts at the 2. Lock it in, Ryan Schumpert. I'm watching that and I'm like, this guy's 30. This is fantastic. Lock it in.
I saw that video and it was fun to watch, and I was like, yeah, this will be some good summer content on the timeline. People will enjoy this, and it has gotten good engagement. But it is at what cost? The cost of Chase. The cost of Chase watching a workout against air and being like 30 minutes a game.
30 minutes. Lock it in.
All SEC.
He's different. Capital H, capital different. That's what he is, man. I'm all in on the Clarence Masamba train. Like, I don't even know what kind of chant I can get going inside TBA, but Masamba. Oh, Masamba. There, I can do something like that.
It's the what was it, the winning time that Cheryl.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yeah. That's a great pull.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, what is the Kicking and Screaming? Massimo. Oh, that's Massimo from Kicking and Screaming. I was like, can I do a Massimo for Masamba? Masamba. I don't know. There's all kinds of different.
You got to bring the French flag, like and
Oh.
screaming. The dad has got
Yes.
the Italian flag. You start with like the mini ones, and he's got the massive one on the pole, but he is in the montage.
These are all great ideas.
One of the many plays we've worked on. Coach, it's the only play.
A great flick. Kicking and Screaming.
Phenomenal.
2005, maybe, I want to say. It's been a bit. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Paul's got the Tigers on the move.
Yep.
Ryan Schumpert. What is Tennessee getting in all seriousness? Landon Mack in the boat from Rutgers. Huge stunner. It was a Tennessee LSU battle. Two premier programs, the two biggest programs in college baseball right now. It seemed maybe for a while that he might be going towards LSU. And then Tony Vitello swoops in late and gets their righty ace, who I assume probably good bet to be a Friday night guy for Tennessee in 2026. But big time K numbers, K and walk numbers. You tweeted about like just what the K numbers and just the lack of walks that this new class has coming in, that is not going to be an issue that we saw this past year if projections stand firm. But what are the Vols getting in Landon Mack from Rutgers? What's his most exciting trait? And where do you have the biggest question mark with the former Scarlet Knight?
Yeah, I think there's, just in the short term, it's a for sure weekend starter. Like Tennessee, I liked a lot of what they've done in the portal on the mound. I like a bunch of the arms, but I didn't look at any of those guys and say this is definitely a weekend starter in the SEC. Clay Edmondson, you're like, yeah, maybe, but he did it last year. Was really good at UNC Asheville, but it's a different deal, and who knows if he even makes it to campus. So I think that for one, I would agree he would be my bet to be the Friday guy, but we'll see what ends up happening there. I don't think that's locked in by any means, but definitely gonna be a weekend starter, and I think it's kind of the pitchability more than anything. I think he's a guy that's very comfortable in who he is. He does have good stuff. He pounds the strike zone. He gets deep into games. He was unafraid, and look, the Big Ten's not the SEC, but he was unafraid as a true freshman, stepping into some big moments. There's good reason he was the number one pitcher in the transfer portal. But I'll say arguably, but I think the two best programs in college baseball were the two competing for his services. So I think it's a huge get from that aspect. Tennessee needed him. I think from a question mark standpoint, it's that jump to the SEC. I don't think it's super overwhelming stuff. I would want to watch him a little bit more in person and before I really say that it's not overwhelming stuff. But I don't think it's it's not a Liam Doyle type fastball or anything like that. So just how's that play in the SEC? And then I think the other super intriguing part of it is that he's got 2 more years. Is just a true freshman this past year. He's not a draft eligible sophomore. He'll have to play 2 more seasons of college baseball before going professional. Obviously, he could enter the portal again, but I expect those 2 seasons to be at Tennessee. So I think a ton of excitement there that you get him in the boat for 2 years, and then you always Tegan Kuhn is a draft eligible sophomore next year, but Braden Krenzel also a guy that has to play 2 more years. So I think you can kind of see Tennessee a potential weekend rotation forming that could stay for largely intact for 2 more seasons.
Feels like this is the new Doe, right? This is the closest they've had to landing Doelander, right? That's what I watched and kind of saw.
Yeah, I think so. Look, closest to, probably doing a lot of weight. I don't want to put SEC pitcher of the year pressure on him. I know I did do that to Liam Doyle last year, but
I was going to say,
I don't want to at least put. Yeah. I don't want to put SEC pitcher of the year pressure on him at least until February. At least
we can put that on him. He was being chased by LSU and Tennessee. Like the expectations, it's fair to have them extremely high based on who was chasing him and what his season was at Rutgers last year and the stuff like you said. Like I think it's fair to have really sky high expectations for this kid.
I don't think SEC pitcher of the year expectations are fair.
Over 2 year span, like you don't think in year?
Maybe over 2 year span. Yeah, I meant more from Doe came in and was pitcher of the year the first year in the conference. In 2 years, I think that it does become a lot more fair. So, I do think from the stuff standpoint, from the physical build standpoint, and from obviously the 2 year aspect, and I think still a good bit of room to grow. yeah, I would say from a portal pickup, he's the closest thing Tennessee's had to Dollander.
I like it. Yeah, I'm excited because it's just you needed someone because we were talking last week. It's like, is DJ Newman going to be the third starter in the weekend rotation? And you like him as an option, depending on how this fall goes. But maybe you might need him in the lineup. Maybe he's a bullpen guy. I don't know. But it was just kind of waiting to see if Tennessee landed a big arm because that lefty arm was just not going to pop up. I mean, the portal closes tomorrow. So it is one of those deals where the big lefty guy that they wanted, I just don't think is going to pop into the portal this year. I think it's going to be like 2022 for this team. Like it's going to be an all righty weekend rotation, I feel like.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think it's a beautiful already pitching staff largely.
Yeah.
I'm sure at least somebody will emerge. But it's very heavy right-handed. I think two things on that. I think that's one, why it's important Clay Edmondson gets to campus. Because if you have Edmondson and Frederick, who are at least two guys with the low arm slot submarine pitchers, they're not lefties, but it gives you a different look in maybe a little bit more effective attacking lefties. I will say Bo Rudy had really good numbers. The Kennesaw State edition, he had really good numbers against lefties last year. So there are some guys I think mitigate that concern a little bit. But that's big. And then, yeah, just in general, I don't know. I'm not following every ounce of it. There wasn't the star power to me in the portal this year that there's been some years in the past. There were the Virginia guys. But besides that, there weren't like a ton of just absolute studs hopping into portal or anything like that. So I think that, especially when you look at what Tennessee needed on the mound, that maximizes the importance of Landon Mack, even more.
That's fair. Ethan Stone, the NBA draft came and went last week, and two Tennessee Vols, one of a handful of schools that had two players drafted in the 2025 NBA draft, Tennessee being one of them. Chaz Lanier goes 37th to the Detroit Pistons to join VFL Tobias Harris. And then you have the last pick of the draft, Jahmai Mashack, going to the Grizzlies with pick number 59. Ethan Stone, what do you say about those two picks? Is there a spot that you like more for what the former Vols? Do you like Chaz in Detroit more? Do you like Mashack in Memphis more? What do you make of the two landing spots for the two Vols?
I think the first thing I make out of it is just it's absolutely incredible that Jahmai Mashack got drafted at number 59. I feel like that is just going to drive him even more. The fact that he's, the Mr. Irrelevant of the NBA draft. He said it himself, he likes it when people are doubting him. So I don't really particularly think it matters where Jahmai went and like just him alone, just because he's always going to have the same not issues, but obstacles to overcome, right? I mean, he's got to improve as an offensive player. He's probably got to improve as a 3-point shooter from volume, so he can be, probably more of a 3-and-D guy for Memphis. But defensively, the intensity, that's always going to be there with Jahmai. And, I think Memphis is going to love that personally. I fail to believe that Jahmai isn't going to find some sort of role somewhere. What that looks like, how long that'll be, couldn't quite tell you. That's just, based on how hard he works and from what we've seen, obviously as a podcast, and from what Tennessee fans have seen, I'd say he has a pretty strong chance of doing that. Chaz, I like his landing spot more now. now that Malik Beasley obviously is having the issues with the gambling probe. No idea where that's going to go for them. And obviously, I believe he was a free agent anyway for Detroit. But I also believe that they were working on like a 3-year deal or something like that. Who knows where that goes from this point? But I've seen a lot of comps for, weirdly enough, Chaz being a Malik Beasley type of player. He's a high volume shooter. He's a good shooter. And, especially if Detroit can't quite figure out some sort of, fallback for Beasley, it makes sense that Chaz at 23, about to be turning 24 years old, is going to be expected probably to take a pretty big leap and play a lot of minutes this year. I would bet. Obviously, he's not going to be starting. That's going to be Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. Ivey has not done too well as a lead guard in the NBA, and Cade Cunningham is one of the better young point guards in the league, so there's going to be a lot of them at the 1 and 2. But I can see Chaz carving out a role off the bench just because of how elite of a shooter he is right off the bat. He's got a quick release, which will work well in the NBA. He can shoot it off platform. He's a good off-ball mover. And I think those strengths will work well in Detroit, especially with, obviously some room moved out of the way now.
Yeah, I like Chaz in Detroit a whole lot more than Toronto, where you saw, because Toronto now with Masai Ujiri out, and just that's a bad situation. I don't think that would have a great landing spot. I think the Warriors would have been really fun for him. Like if he wound up there, that would have been really interesting. I think this is a good spot though, because the Pistons, I think a lot of people don't realize that the Pistons are a top 6 team in the East right now. And I mean, they just signed Karis LeVert, and Cade Cunningham is a top 20 player in the league, and that's going to help Chaz. Obviously, Chaz was a big beneficiary of playing next to Zakai. Obviously, Cade's a very different kind of player, but Cade is an exceptional NBA player at this point. Like Karis LeVert will take a lot of the usage. Like you talk about Malik Beasley, that just TBD on that front. But you talk about a guy who he reminds me of. I mean, there's some Tim Hardaway Jr. stuff to him, right? Like there is some real, just catch and shoot. That's all we want you to do. And Hardaway Jr. has crafted a long career doing the kind of thing that Chaz needs to be able to do at the NBA level. But you don't have a lot of shooting there. I mean, Asar Thompson is a non-shooter. Jaden Ivey, non-shooter to this point. Like, I don't think he's proven that he's capable of being a consistent good shooter from 3, especially. I don't know. I think Ron Holland is still a TBD on that shot as well. Like, I think the Pistons are trending up, but they need shooting. And I think Chaz is going to get an opportunity to play and to make shots and be a part of this rotation. Marcus Sasser, another guy who
exactly. I was just about to bring him up. I mean, he's going to beat him out. If the Pistons need shooting, he's the best option they have currently that's not named Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey. Like, he's the best option they have. Of course, assuming that Beasley does not play again for the Pistons. But I think that's a good point. He's going to get minutes just because of how good of a shooter he is. And I mean, like I said a little earlier, it's not like he's an 18-year-old coming into the NBA for the first time. Like, he has experience. He played, obviously, at Tennessee, where defense is an emphasis. So he's going to have that background as well that I'm sure NBA coaches are going to love. And, they loved him enough to draft him there. So I think he'll fit well there. I do think it's a good landing spot.
Can I say one thing on the Mashack thing, though? I think it would have been better for him to just wind up in Houston. Houston is like, Ime is full defense, and he doesn't care about shooting. Ime was playing Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun together for extended stretches. Like, he doesn't care about the norms. He doesn't care if he's playing 2 bigs who can't shoot threes. Like, he's playing the other Thompson. He's playing Dylan Brooks, who's not exactly a big time shooter. Like, he's making Jalen Green defend, obviously, but I think Ime, to me, I mean, obviously it's a better team at this point, but Mashack, I felt like you could have sold me on Mashack finding out a better immediate role that Ime would have loved. You know what I mean? Like, I thought Udoka would love a player like Mashack. So my first reaction when the pick got traded, I was like, actually, Mashack, I think, would have actually been a lot better in Houston than Memphis. Because, I mean, we've seen this. I mean, Kennedy Chandler, Pons, like Memphis has done this a couple times now. Jarnell Stokes way back in the day. I don't know. Like, I hope it all works out for Mashack.
That's kind of just a deal with second-round picks, though.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, no, true, 100%. But I also kind of wonder, I don't know. We'll see. I just, my immediate reaction was, like, he's obviously the easiest guy to root for, and I hope it all works out. But I was like, my gut reaction is like, ooh, I actually would have liked you better in Houston. I think you would have had a better shot of sticking in Houston. I don't know. I don't know if y'all agree.
My prediction is I don't know if it's going to be with Memphis. In fact, it probably won't be with Memphis for reasons that you just said. I think he will find a role somewhere. I don't know where it will be, but he's just too good defensively, I feel like. And I mean, he's got decent enough size and he can shoot the 3. I mean, I understand the NBA doesn't really care about defense, but like his specific skill set, his specific motor, I feel like someone somewhere is going to eat that up.
Yeah. Well, going back to baseball here as we continue our Vol baseball season review series, Ryan, Reese Chapman. We did Hunter Inslee last week. Reese Chapman, how did he fare? What did he get better at from his first 2 seasons on Rocky Top, and where did he struggle the most in 2025?
Yeah, I think, more than anything, I think he had a little bit of a predictable season, or a season you're going to say, because I think he had a high floor. Like, I don't think there was a scenario where he was just like terrible, or kind of like Kyle Booker, who never took the step. Like, I always thought Chapman was going to be starting caliber player, but I think the things that you would kind of say held him back are the things that we would have said before the year: consistency, strikeout rate. He was bad against left-handed pitching. those things kind of ate him up. So I think I don't want him to make it sound like it was like worst case scenario or anything like that, because I don't think that's really the case. But it was kind of, if you would have said Reese Chapman doesn't take the big step for Tennessee, like a Dylan Dreiling, like a Kavaris Tears, what does it look like? And I think it's kind of what it looked like. He was really good defensively. You knew he was super solid. He kind of continued that big arm right fielder, Jordan Beck, Kavaris Tears that Tennessee's had. Christian Scott obviously didn't quite match that mold, but he hit for power. He was a solid bat, but just not really enough consistency for him to take that huge step and kind of become a true star in the SEC.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him kind of, because it's just they needed him to be like, he's following up Kavaris Tears in right, and Tears obviously. I mean, I think he was a little bit more up and down than I think people remember with Tears, and I don't think he'll have that memory because he was clutch for Tennessee and he developed, and he was ultimately a big success for Tennessee. But I do think it's not really fair to Reese, but I do think Reese had a lot on him that, like, if Tennessee wanted to get back to Omaha or have a realistic shot of winning it back-to-back titles, Reese had to be a star. And as a third-year player and with the kind of potential that he had, I think that was definitely a possibility, but he was just too streaky and he never put it together, right? Like, he was still a good overall player and a good player at Tennessee, but he wasn't a star. And that, I think, not drastically lowered Tennessee's ceiling, but it did lower Tennessee's ceiling and ultimately what they could be if you were not going to get what you needed out of Reese in 2025. And he never made that final leap for the Vols.
Yeah, I think to your point, like, it wasn't all on Reese, but I think it's a combination. Dalton Bargo was more of that, but then once you got to postseason, was at his worst he'd been all season. Cannon Peebles didn't make that step. Had moments, was a clutch player, was a better bat than he was in 2024. But you needed probably two of those guys, realistically, to make the Dylan Dreiling, Kavaris Tears, to make the Trey Lipscomb type step, to make the step that you've seen so many guys do at Tennessee when they are kind of fringe starters, they get some opportunities, top bench guys, and then when they get their chance, they run with it. They're all SEC caliber players. And Chapman was, you wondered if he could be that guy. You felt like he was a possibility, and he was just a solid player, and that's, there's nothing to hate on with that. Like, I'm not trying to be mean or dog him. He was an SEC caliber starting player, and he was a guy that's going to be picked in the MLB draft next month. He's a solid player. If Tennessee was going to, like you said, be a team that defended in its national championship and won again, he was going to need to be an all SEC type guy, and he wasn't that.
I think that's fair. Ethan, it's the summer. We still got a long way to go, even though Clarence Masamba already putting his best foot forward here as he makes the case for starting two guard out of the gate for our Tennessee Vols here.
Hasn't stepped foot on campus on the team, but he's putting his best foot forward.
Doesn't need to. It's like the Ben Simmons watch. Like, Clarence Masamba is Ben Simmons watch. It's like, is Ben Simmons going to start shooting threes this year? He's shooting open threes in the gym. Is this the year? That's me with Masamba. It's like, Clarence Masamba.
They said, hey, Amari Abram, we're good here. You can stay.
No, I want Amari Abram as a bench guy.
We're good.
You said, you can stay. We're good here, man.
Like, we want you as a rotation guy. I want Amari Abram as number 7 or 8 on this team. Number 7 and number 8. I want Clarence Masamba as one of my starting 5. I need Clarence Masamba at the 2. Masamba!
You got to workshop that. That's just not very good.
Yeah.
It's just not very good.
It's not my jam. I'm not a vocalist. I'm a quiet guy at games. Like, it's just not I don't yell at games. I don't do any of this. This is not my wheelhouse. Have you seen Ethan Stone at a game? When Sterling the Pearl gets going, Ethan is electric.
He's feeding the floor. You don't feed the floor. You don't feed the floor, and then you complain about the fans not being loud enough. It's the Chase Thomas special.
Hey, look, it's not my job. It's not my job.
Something stone, something glass houses, Chase.
It's not my job.
That was great, Ethan.
All that being said, Ethan, your most underrated Rick Barnes era big man is who?
Yeah, I thought about this for a while, and I'm not sure if you guys are going to agree with my pick, but because I'm not sure he fit on the team, so I'm not sure you can really call him underrated. And he also really only played one good year. But I'm going to say Tobe Awaka until the end of time. I loved Tobe at Tennessee. I understand why he transferred to Arizona and Tennessee brought in Igor Milicic. They need more shooting outside. Tobe wasn't that. But, I mean, he was just a dog, man. Every time he's on the court, he did something good. He was like the forward version of Jahmai or Zakai. He brought that energy. He's one of the most elite rebounders in college basketball. It was nice to have the dependence on that when obviously Tennessee needed one. He was a good defender, and I think he matched up well beside Adu in Tennessee's front court. But yeah, that's my answer. I thought about saying Kyle Alexander, but I think he's honestly pretty well rated. I don't think he's necessarily an underrated player.
I think he might be a little overrated, honestly.
Yeah. I went back and forth, but I feel like the safest answer for me for just loving ball, loving guys play basketball, like watching, enjoying players play basketball. It was Toby. Like it's just Toby. He's fun to watch. It's that simple. So I'll go with him.
He has a universal positive approval rating, I think, from Vol fans, though. Like, I think every Vol fan was upset that Tobe left. Like, that one hurt. Like, complete opposite feeling for Jonas Adu. Like, Tennessee fans could not have been more over Jonas Adu, and they could not have been more distraught that Tobe left. It was a complete difference in the public opinion between those two guys.
1,000%. Which is, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. Tobe's literally, I think, like, I don't know, maybe there's another example I'm just not thinking of. Like the true guy that like he left and it was like nobody was upset about it. Nobody was upset at him. Everybody was upset. Everybody was upset that he left and nobody was upset at him. Like there's really never a crossover there. And that was, I feel like, the case with Tobe.
Who's your pick here, Ryan?
Do you have a pick? Because I'm really on the fence between two guys. I want to see who you go with.
Well, you've been trying to mute me for the last minute and a half as I try to say Uros Plavsic, but
that was not going to be one of my picks.
I love Uros Plavsic. And I would love to say Drew Pember, but he was the...
I would mute you if you said
yes.
I thought you were going to say Pember, to be honest.
I can't say Pember because it's not real. He wasn't underrated here. Like, we never saw it. He did it backwards. Like I said, Drew Pember, if he does 2 years at Asheville and then comes in, completely different situation. But I think for me, can I say Folky?
You can say it. It would be
country,
a terrible
Folky was really, really good. And you look at his numbers, it's kind of jarring, like what Folky was doing. And Folky had a bag. Like, Folky is one of those guys where you don't see a Tennessee player with a bag after a while. Inside, I think Dwayne Brown might have it. And we'll see what he looks like. I mean, JP Estrella definitely has it. And we'll see if he gets to unlock that. If Rick Barnes has the courage to unleash Masamba and JP Estrella picking roles from the get-go. But we shall see. I think it might be Folky, because I think Fulkerson is looked at in a way by Vol fans like good role player, whatever. I think like a fun fan favorite. But I think he's a little bit better than that. I think Folky was a little bit better than he's given credit for.
I would give you that. I think his last season kind of tainted his
last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
he had a special 10-game stretch, and the
exactly. Yeah, he
was genuinely special.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like 19 to 20. I think he was. I mean, he was a really good player. 14 and 6.
A dude played 6 years, and you can't say a 15-game stretch is who he was. That's ridiculous.
I don't know. I think he's a really good player. I think he's just kind of underrated. I think he's just kind of underrated by Vol fans. It's been a while now. I think he's a little underrated.
I was gonna say that I think you're wrong and that he's overrated. Honestly, I think he's perfectly rated. I think Folky is Folky. I think he is very well rated. Like Alexander, like I said earlier.
Yeah. Who are you gonna say,
didn't
Ryan?
hit either of the two. I went with. So I think these two guys are literally the opposites. I think it is in some ways it's Olivier Camois, because basically 95% of what he did in the Duke game, he got Tennessee to the Sweet 16 and basically almost single-handedly offensively gave Tennessee one of their 5 best wins in NCAA tournament history. He was unbelievable. He carried them. He was not an overly consistent offensive player, which was, I think, maddening about him and specifically that team that was very up and down that season. And then the exact opposite to Jonas Adu, because he's very hated by the Tennessee fan base, and he was horrible in the he was bad in the NCAA tournament. He was horrible in the Purdue game. But I mean, he was an all-SEC guy in his junior year and a solid piece to that team the year before. And people will forget about it. People will forget about it. But I'm not going to let them forget about it, at least right now. Tennessee, Texas, round of 32, 2 games before Purdue. Tennessee is up by 2 late in the game. They are like 3 or 4 fouls from the bonus. Texas has to foul. They keep on getting it into Zakai. Foul. Got to get it in again. Somehow, the free throws when Tennessee was in the bonus. Somehow they had to inbounded the ball to Jonas, the last person you wanted on the court to shoot free throws. And Jonas, for not being a very clutch player, had not played very well in that game. I mean, I don't know if people remember this either. He missed a wide open layup the first possession of the game. Bonus, up by 2, biggest free throws of the year, drilled both of them. So he was a good player on that team. I get why people don't like him. He was, again, terrible the next weekend in Detroit, but he was very clutch in that moment for Tennessee, and he was one of the 3 best players on a team that won the SEC regular season championship outright.
I think that's fair. That's fair. I think Jonas is just the threes. I think he can shoot threes, and he just.
This is just bad take city by Chase.
Have you watched Jonas warm up? Jonas is a 3-point guy.
I will say.
How many did he hit last year at Arkansas?
No. What I'm saying is, I wish he would have done it. Like him being Brook Lopez, I wanted him to be the aggressive 3-point shooter. I wanted 4 threes up every game from Jonas Adu.
That's crazy. You're on crack.
No.
You are on crack cocaine, Chase. Arkansas had a center who was a good 3-point shooter, and they let him shoot it. And they kind of let Jonas shoot it, and he couldn't hit him.
How many
different player when he left Tennessee, and you know that. Yes,
I'm going to piggyback off of Ryan's question. How many threes do you think he made this year at Arkansas?
Oh, like 2?
I'll say.
Oh no, is it 0?
7 attempts is 0, not a single one.
7 attempts.
7 attempts.
My favorite Jonas.
He didn't shoot, obviously, but
my favorite Jonas thing. Do you have his full career stats pulled up, Ethan? Did he hit 1 at Tennessee in his junior year?
Junior year, he took.
Was that off the glass? I feel like he had it off the glass. Or bank 3. Did he bank a 3 at Tennessee?
He took 15 and made 3 in 2024.
I know he also in 2024 made a 3 in the Michigan State exhibition game and in the Lenoir Ryan exhibition game. So he hit 5 threes in a game in games that season, and 2 of them were in games that did not count. And I remember at the time it happening, and I think I maybe was sitting beside Ben McKee or at one of those games. I'm like, Jonas is not going to hit threes when the game. He's getting all his made threes out of the way in the games that don't count.
Something else as well. I just figured out he was 3 of 15 his junior year. 2 of those 3 came against George Mason on December 5th. He was 2 for 2 against George Mason.
I'm just glad Kim English was gone he wasn't the coach there that had to see Jonas knocking down threes against him.
I don't know. What happens if Jonas goes to Asheville instead of Arkansas this past year?
He'd probably dominate.
He would have made a lot less money. I can tell you that much.
But he would have made a lot more threes, and we'll leave it there. Ryan, most intriguing UT commit over the weekend for UT football was who, in your estimation?
The legend.
The legend.
Yeah,
his huddle tape is fantastic. If you would dive into the Legend Bey huddle tape, and you're like, oh, this is fun stuff.
Here's a little bit, and it's different because he's a quarterback, and this guy was not a quarterback in high school. A little bit of Boo Carter to him in the high school.
He does have a little bit of Boo.
Yeah, he's just electric to watch. He's one of the guys I would say so far that I'm most excited about in Tennessee's class. So, what does it exactly look like? Like, it seems to me like he's got a slot receiver skill set. Tennessee, one of Tennessee's best commits right now is no doubter slot receiver in Tyreek King. So we'll see how all that shakes out in time. But he is the one I'm most intrigued about. And like you said, his huddle is pretty electric.
Well, I don't actually think it matters for one of the spots. Because remember, Javonte Payton was an outside guy. And it was just straight down the field. Dante Thornton was just straight down the field speed on the outside. And I think that's why Tennessee put him in the slot originally, because I think they wanted him in the slot. But then he was more comfortable on the outside. So Tyreek King could be an outside guy. I don't think it's like locked in if they need him on the
Tyreek King. They're both so short.
What was
Who's so
Javonte
small?
Payton?
6'3"?
Was he?
Maybe he
No.
was. He
Javonte,
was
was he
over 6'3".
6'3"?
He might have been 6'1".
He's
He
6'1".
was
Yeah.
6'1".
6'1".
Yeah, 6'1".
So I don't know. I mean,
And,
what is
I
Mike
would-
Matthews? Mike Matthews is barely 6'2", right?
He's. I think he's like 6 foot.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
he's
he's
listed
barely.
as 6'1".
I thought he was 5'10". One second. I'm looking this up.
He's 6'1", but that might be a very generous 6'1".
I think that's
might,
generous.
I might
think
go
that's a
6
generous
feet.
6'1". But he's got to be the shortest guy that's played outside for Tennessee,
Yeah,
or will be. So
yeah.
not that it's impossible, but a little.
We need to
skeptical
see
there.
him standing next to Travis Smith Jr. Like I need to, or Chris Brazel. I need to, I need
Yeah.
to see because I think those two are legitimately tall, and I want to see what, then we'll have a good idea of the actual height there. It's the Trae Young thing where Trae Young's height's never been like accurate or either. I mean, even Zakai. What did Tennessee list Zakai at?
5'9".
Do you think that's accurate?
No.
Okay.
I think he's 5'7".
No.
That's not like any intel. No one's told me that. I tried to probe Zakai about it one time about how tall he actually is, and he wouldn't give in. He just kept on saying he's 5'9" with a smirk on his face.
I love that. Well, I'm a big believer.
Maybe he's
in-
5'8". I don't know, dude. He is short. He is really short.
As someone who's 5'10" without shoes, I am 5'11" with shoes, which is really close to 6 feet. And at that point, you might as well just say 6 feet. I'm in the 6 feet family. Like I'm 6 foot adjacent.
Have you seen the Instagram reel chase of the guy talking about how 5'11" is actually the peak height, the best height that you want to be?
That's tough because it's not.
That's bad podcasting, but that's going to be you at 5'10". He's like, once you get to 6 foot, like, what are you looking for up there? What are you trying to find up there? And then you get lower, you get to 5'9", 5'8", you're really short.
Yeah.
But 5'10", 5'11", that's where you want to be. That's the money spot.
100%. 100%. Tough look, but I mean, yeah, I remember, like, Ethan, do you remember the first time we all met up at Litton's and Ryan was asking like what it was like for me to be 5'10"? Because he was just kind of, it was just, you could get the sense that he was a little envious of being over 6 feet. And he was like, yeah, I mean, it's great. Like, I love being 5'10".
It's so funny. I vaguely remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
I was asking,
like,
yeah, I don't know. I think it maybe was the first time I'd seen Chase in person, and the height, the lack of hair, I was just real jealous of.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
I'm giving myself a technical.
Oh my God.
I couldn't resist.
Just sit in the penalty box, Ryan. Goodness gracious.
Where's Tony Reale when you need him? Like, so many points off the board. You're in the negatives. -17 right now for Ryan Schumpert on this podcast. Unbelievable. Goodness gracious. On the other side of things, Ethan, is Legend Bey your most interesting recruit, or is it somebody else?
Yeah, that was going to be my pick as well. And for the exact reasons that you guys said. I mean, he has, I feel like, the highest ceiling of the group just because of how much of an athletic freak he is. And his name is Legend Bey. So, I feel like on top of everything you guys said and I've said, I think that adds to it as well.
I think he's right there. I do think it's interesting, like, how I think people look at him and they're like, okay, so is he a slot guy at 5'9", 170? Is he whatever? I'm like, I mean, Hypo has evolved. Like, I just kind of touched on it with Peyton on the outside, Dante Thornton in the slot, Dante Thornton on the outside, Mike Matthews, one of the more undersized outside guys he's had to this point. Jalen Hyatt, completely different slot guy. You had Squirrel White, completely different slot guy. You had Velus Jones, who was a running back in the NFL. Like, I think he's going to figure out, and kind of like Boo Carter, I thought was bust potential. Wait, what am I trying to say? He's bust proof is what I was trying to say. He was bust proof coming out, where I just thought if he went to Michigan, he went to Colorado, he went to Tennessee, Boo Carter was going to be a star wherever he went. I just thought he was just going to be a playmaker. I think that might be Legend Bey. Like, if you just get Legend Bey in that receiver room and just let him do stuff pre-snap motion, you let him do stuff in the red zone, you do some wildcat stuff for him, I just think he's going to figure it out. Like, his high school stuff, I just feel like that he's just the kind of player who just figures it out on wherever he goes. Like, if he plays at A&M, if he plays at Georgia, he plays at Tennessee, Legend Bey, I think, is just going to be a really good football player. I will say, though, the one other one this weekend that I thought was fascinating was Edward Baker, the 3-star to St. Francis. That's 3 St. Francis kids. And then right after, Brandon Anderson, 4-star North Cobb, who used to be committed to Tennessee, seemed like it was trending back in the good direction, and then he ends up at Mizzou, and it's like what, 1 day after Edward Baker commits to Tennessee. So I do think that was interesting, and that's kind of going to be a big eval test of what those two, because it seems like it was one or the other from the outside looking in. So
I think that's correct.
Yeah, and
what I've heard.
I think it's fascinating is they went with Baker there potentially. So we'll see. That's a great prep school, and obviously Idris Farouk and Dominic Bailey, two St. Francis guys. They recruit Baltimore really well, and Dante Thornton, another Baltimore guy, and so we'll see. I think it's interesting on the interior front. I mean, Spraggs was a 3-star guy, and he had a really great Tennessee career under Heupel and Ollie Lane, another 3-star guard. And I mean, he's only a guard at that point, but I do think it's interesting. And someone made a good point I saw the other day where it's like, I think fans who freak out over like, oh, you picked the 3-star with 4-star. It's like that. You just want the good, like, guards are a little bit different. You look at guards different than tackles. You don't want to stockpile a bunch of 3-star tackles, but 3-star guards, I don't really look at the same. And I think that's obviously coming from a football powerhouse. I look at that a little bit different. But like, some of these tackles are going to move inside. Like, it's just how it's going to be. Like Trey Smith had to move inside. Like that's part of how it goes. Like, you want to accumulate as many tackles. You want Kamari Blair. You want Brody Smith. You want to keep stacking as many tackles because you can always move those guys inside. Like Gage Ginther, who was a 4-star tackle out of Colorado. I think he's been moving guard. Sham Umarov was a tackle at Denmark and Georgia. He's working at guard at Tennessee. So it's just like, I understand like people like, oh, how do you go 3-star or 4-star? I'm like, there's a lot more to it on this particular front. And I think the main thing is you want as many blue chip tackles as you can get in the boat because you can always move them inside. You can't really move guards around. Like, guards are just guards if you bring them in that way.
Yeah, for sure. I think the key on the guards aspect is like finding guys that are centers, that are true centers.
Like Nick Moore and Ogamoro, who was in this past class. Yeah. Same kind of deal.
Yeah. I want to see the ratio of players Tennessee assigned from Maryland in the last 5 to 10 years. What percentage of them went to St. Francis? Because it seems like all of them to me.
It's a good question. I mean, Thornton didn't. I know that.
Yeah, but out of high school, guys they got.
It's a good question.
Here's a good throwback name for you, Aaron Willis.
Was he a St. Francis guy?
Yep.
Interesting.
Because him and Dominique Bailey were same class, same high school.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, St. Francis is a powerhouse because I think, did Angel Reese go to St. Francis for basketball? I want to say.
I'm not sure on that. I mean, obviously I know she's from Baltimore, but I'm not positive where she went
to. Unless I'm wrong, I think she went to St. Francis, if I remember correctly. Yes, she went to St. Francis. Yeah. St. Francis, powerhouse in athletics in Baltimore. Ethan, you have this. I'm going to throw this to you first because I'm going to ask Ryan about which game in Neyland and which atmosphere for Neyland Stadium in particular was most effective for a game that Ryan covered. But for you have a great one for TBA at Food City Center and a game that you felt like the home crowd and the home environment swayed Tennessee, where you're like, oh, this is a crowd win. This is the crowd played a big role here. So. On the hoop
I
side,
want to see this too because Ethan noted that he had one earlier, and I had one come to mind too. So I'm curious if it's the same one because this would have been a game Ethan covered.
I'm gonna say 2 of them actually because the one that I thought of originally, I think I found one that's even better than that one.
Oh,
the first one that was a sneaky underrated home environment was Arizona in December.
That's the one that I had too.
That is and you said a home environment that affected the game, and that's why I'm going to go with my next one, which I think affected the game a little more. But this Arizona game was the loudest I have ever heard TBA. The first when Tennessee went up like 17-2 or something like that, and Josiah had the dunk off of the steal from I don't know Matherin or one of the Arizona players. TBA went completely ballistic. I mean, it was enough to where I was like, "Whoa, I got to stop what I'm doing and just look around because this is insane." Like this is a moment in Tennessee basketball history because it was that loud. It was crazy.
They were clearly rattled, early in the game by the crowd.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the crowd kind of helped will Tennessee to win late. I mean, Arizona was clearly the better team that day. Yeah, after that just start.
Yeah, it did feel like because Arizona obviously came back. I don't know if they took the lead. I think they got it to 62-62. I don't think they ever actually took the lead, but it felt like Tennessee was going to lose that game. And like Ryan says, the crowd did kind of come alive. But I'd say
John Fulkerson game too.
It was a great John Fulkerson game. The other, the one that I thought of that I seriously think might be even better because of context. Tennessee goes to Rupp Arena and they get just smacked because Kentucky shoots the very best they ever have in their entire history as a basketball program. And then on the return trip on February 15th, I'd say that's the second loudest I've ever heard TBA. Tennessee won that game. It was like 76-63. And Kentucky, I'll use a word that Ryan said earlier, was rattled, to say the least. They didn't score even close to like the first one. I mean, of course, they were going to regress to the mean the entire time. But that one, that was a particularly loud one I remember as well. And while I was covering it, I remember thinking they don't look like they even want to be in the same building right now. And the Kentucky beat writers that had come down from Lexington, they found Josh Lane and I afterwards, and they were like, "That makes Rupp look like a kiddie factory." Like, like that it was crazy loud. We did not expect it to be like that, and I don't know. I remember that sometimes, and it was impressive. Only second to the Arizona game, and how loud it was, just how raucous it was.
That was the game with the little brouhaha early in front of the Kentucky bench. I think like Zakai and the Kentucky strength coach were getting into it or something like that.
Is that yours? Who's your pick, Ryan?
Oh, the Arizona one was the one that came.
So that is your one too.
Okay. Yeah.
It was so loud.
Florida game this year, I think, was one too. It's up there. Just Tennessee being undermanned. It was not a willed Tennessee to win type thing, but I think Tennessee's played in a lot of ugly games at home that, and a lot of times are sluggish, and it's hard for the crowd to get in it just naturally. Like I think that was one that every basket Tennessee made that entire game, every stop they got, the crowd was very, very loud, and it felt like the crowd knew or felt like that the team needed them to be very in that game to pull off that type of win, which is again such a college basketball result. I think it was the least amount of points Florida scored in the game all year by like 25. Yeah. I mean, it was just crazy to look back in hindsight of what Florida did and what a wagon that offense was to score whatever it was. I think 42, 44 points that day in Knoxville.
I'll throw one more in the ring. Also, I didn't cover this game, so I didn't count it because you said one that specifically we covered. 2019 Kentucky, where Tennessee won by 20 points. It was also very, very loud.
Same thing. Got smacked in Rupp a month earlier. I think that still might be. I think that still might be the loudest, the best environment of I wasn't covering it. That was my freshman year, but I think that one still might be the best environment, start to finish, of a game at TBA that I've been at.
I like it. What about on the football side of things?
Yeah, I'll say one. I mean, I think 22 Alabama is like the obvious answer.
But do you think that was Neyland swung that?
I think in a lot of ways, from the standpoint of two things I would say. One, how many penalties Alabama had, how many pre-snap penalties Alabama had, which mattered a lot in a game where Alabama was moving the ball with a lot of ease, as was Tennessee. And I will give the crowd a lot of credit, and I do think Tennessee deserves credit too, because a lot of what the crowd does is just reaction to what happens. But when the game started swinging back in Alabama's favor in the third quarter, I thought the crowd remained really, really good in that game and didn't get tight like it had gotten in a number of games, in the past when Tennessee was trying to end streaks. So I would say that one, a more recent one, I feel like A&M 23, I think is a sneaky one.
I would say there's two games in 23, and A&M's one of them.
Yeah. Would you say South Carolina's the other?
South Carolina's the other one. I was in the building for the South Carolina one.
It's up there too.
Rattler was rattled. Like that was one of those where they were getting, and that Kamal Hadden pick six was the loudest.
That was one of the loudest.
The Jalen Wright touchdown run was the loudest it's ever been inside Neyland for me. Like South Carolina was completely overwhelmed. Like that one was one where that just completely.
James Pierce had a little bit to do with Spencer Rattler being rattled too, but
no, but I mean, just it was just clear the black unis and Neyland
revenge factor.
Yeah, like they engulfed South Carolina. Like it was just one of those where that offense had no chance against Tennessee that day. It didn't matter really what the offense did for Tennessee. They just had to do a little bit and they would win that game.
I have one more, but first I'll say this is the thought coming off the top of my head. Has any player swung their public image more in Tennessee history than Kamal Hadden with that pick six?
I think that whole year. I mean, that year he was
despised after the
He
Florida game.
was.
Yeah.
He was good. You're right. He was good that year as a good coverage corner, but he also got hurt to end the season against Alabama, so he didn't play the full season.
True.
And I don't think people would remember him being good for that whole year nearly as much if it wasn't for the pick six.
Yeah.
I agree. I like that take.
Kamal got
he was
booed.
getting
He got booed that year.
yes after
Yeah,
the Florida
yes.
game. After
Yeah.
the Florida
It
game,
was the-
But it wasn't
Yeah.
it the pre A&M game? Was it pre A&M?
it was whatever the next. I think UTSA.
No, it was
the next
Austin
home
P.
game.
It was Austin P. It was a nobody game. It was an
was
Austin P game.
Yeah, I think it was UTSA.
Because I think they were wearing the smoky grays. I think it was the smoky gray
Okay.
game.
UTSA game was the one after Florida though, which I think is when that would have happened.
I thought it was Austin P. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess it may have been after.
I don't know why it would have happened for Austin P. Was my thing. Nothing happened against Virginia to have
True.
prompted that.
Yeah,
He
that was
showed
a,
some of the
that was
worst
a bad
effort
look.
ever seen.
Can we just go ahead and say collectively that was a bad look?
Yeah, terrible look.
Terrible look.
And it was
And-
that was the next week, I believe, the South Carolina game.
Yeah.
And it was
Kamal,
swung.
like, settled
it
in.
was completely swung.
Also, Willie Martinez doesn't get enough credit, man. Kamal Haddon, he turned into a great player, spring portal ad. I mean, then Gabe Giuliani, I mean, he turned into a really, really solid, important player for Tennessee. And yeah, I don't know. He makes it work, man. Colton Hood, excited. Jalen McMurray last year, top 100 PFF CB. Many forget. I don't know. There's a lot of those. And I think Tennessee's going to have several of those kind of games this year with how this offense might look and where the season might go. I think Oklahoma is one that stands out where that place is going to need to be electric for that one. And I mean, they might need it for Arkansas. Like that might be one of those where to get up off the mat, depending on how the year is going, like Arkansas might need to be pretty deafening, overwhelming type deal for them to calm the storm there. Final thing, and we'll wrap up.
I got
Oh,
one
yeah.
last one. And I think this is actually maybe truly my number one answer, but I didn't cover it, so I didn't want to say it. I think Florida 2016. That was just an avalanche in the second half. I don't think I've ever seen a game. That's probably hyperbole, but that game, the way that game was played, so vastly different from the first half to the second half, was crazy, and it was just an avalanche. And Florida could never get off the mat, and kind of like the South Carolina game, Derek Barnett had a whole hell of a lot to do with it, but so did the crowd.
Have you ever looked at Derek Barnett's freshman stats at Tennessee? Like true freshman stats.
Yeah, like 9.5 sacks, I think, something like that.
Yeah, just like it's not even like TFLs were crazy. Like Derek Barnett's true freshman year are pretty bonkers. Like Eric Berry is the person
the
you
Brentwood
think of.
kid.
Say it again.
The Brentwood kid out of Brentwood Academy.
Yeah.
In the Nashville mid-state area.
Anything else?
Fun fact: my brother played Brentwood Blaze football with Derek Barnett.
Did he?
Like 11 years old. Yep.
Wow.
They were the two. I think Derek was probably interior defensive lineman. They might have been playing beside each other. My brother, I think, was like a defensive end on defense.
Your brother was a deep. Are you talking about Grant?
No, Andy, middle brother.
Okay,
This guy played middle brother. Andy played football at Furman. He was a tight end in
but
college,
like defensive line. So
Yeah, they're like
dude.
11. They're like 11 years old, and he was just.
Oh, okay, very different.
Brentwood Blaze football, like triple B football, probably.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure what year it was, but yeah.
I'm imagining.
Not when they were in high school. Or
I'm imagining a Shump state lining up next to Derek Barnett in the interior on a team, and it's a lot for me to process.
No. Much lankier. I think Derek had a lot more meat to his bones at that age, and still does.
Do you ever figure out Grant's age from the pod?
Yeah, I was correct.
Oh, okay,
I was correct. Yep.
that's good.
Yep.
Just want to make sure. Glad we got that cleared up on the pod.
Yep.
That was a return for the ball joke.
That was fair. It's a fair game. If I had a cap on, I'd tip it to you. That's well done.
Han Solo gif.
Yeah.
We're
Also,
all
while we're on the topic of
Yeah.
that, and we're already a little devolved, but a friend of the program, Ryan Sylvia, did a hat tipping job, the likes of which I've never seen before at Tennessee Smokies game last week. He was not getting a half inning by without tipping his cap to somebody. It was electric stuff.
hat tips all around.
Yep.
All class here on this podcast.
All pure class.
Pure class right here on the Tennessee Vols Sports Guys. Final thing, and we'll wrap up here. Ryan, can we do a deep dive 1 through 9 on Tennessee's lineup now with the portal additions, baseball, projections for starters on defense, all 11, and then all 11 starters rapid fire on all.
Like, this is sicko stuff.
I thought you were serious about the starting 9. I thought you were being 100% serious.
No, that's tomorrow on the radio show. The radio show, just 2 hours of Ryan trying to run through all the different depth charts going into 2025, 2026. It's just no ads, just 2 straight hours, unfiltered. Ryan trying to name all the projected roster spots and depth chart.
See, that's more fair game, and a little look, what's the thing? The something baseball. I'm blanking on the term. Look behind the curtain type thing at the Chase Thomas show, Chase Thomas podcast. Detailed outlines. Every prompt we talk about is told to us beforehand. Anytime Chase throws the give me the starting lineup. Never on the rundown. So never do I have like the half a day to think about what my answers are going to be. It's just on the spot. Give me the 9 starters right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry for doing 99% of
inside baseball.
Yeah,
that's what
it is an inside baseball thing. Big outline guy.
Yeah, and it's great. It's fantastic. It's like stuff like the what we were just talking about, where we're talking about the best Neyland and TBA environments. We have all day to think about them and come up with good answers. And then it's boom. Give me 9 starting lineup, 1 through 9 batting order, weekend starters, top 3 use bullpen arms. Now,
oh, actually. Now we'll end on this for T's Rocky Top Insider this week. Is Tennessee done big game hunting, or do you think there's still someone over the next week or two that Tennessee is in serious play for that they might add?
I'll say there's someone that they might add, but I don't expect a ton of movement at this point either.
Okay, I like it. Ethan Stone, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at SaturdayDownSouth.com this week?
Yeah, not necessarily me. I'll have one next week, but SEC Network and Saturday Down South are doing kind of a Saturday Down South is kind of mirroring and having, as SEC Network has their takeover days. We're writing a couple articles per day. I believe it was Auburn today, and we've already got Arkansas and Alabama stuff on the site. I'll have Tennessee and a Vanderbilt pieces for that day, so check that out next week when they get there, and then obviously we'll have full coverage the rest of the week as we work through the SEC teams, and then obviously latest news and news desk stories. We'll cover NBA draft and whatever else is going on in the SEC world this week and moving forward.
There you go. What about you over at Rocky Top Insider, Ryan Schumpert?
Yeah, well, with be a little bit of reflection this week with the baseball portal, as you stated earlier, officially closing, seeing where things kind of stand. Plan on tomorrow morning writing about some of the trends with what they've done in the pitching staff, some stuff we talked about with the walk rates and right-handed arms. So that on the baseball front, and then tomorrow, at least Tuesday, probably while you're listening to this, should be a busy day, or has the possibility to be a busy day for Tennessee football, recruiting 3 targets announcing their commitment. So we'll have stuff on that.
Who are all announcing tomorrow?
The 2 Mississippi kids.
I knew those two.
Darian Albert
who else was?
And TJ White, and then Jahmai and Theodore, kid from
he's doing
Baylor in Chattanooga. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. I love it. Ryan Schumpert, Ethan Stone, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.